So this is a lesson on animal cells. First of all, it's important to remember that an animal cell, much like the other cells, has three important features. We have nucleus, cytoplasm, and of course, almost touching here, cell membrane. However, red blood cells will actually, as pretty soon after they are made, they will lose their nucleus. Now this is one of the reasons why a red blood cell will only last for 2 to 3 weeks. Now, we'll talk a bit about some of the specialized cells. So right here we have muscle cells. But there are, of course, 2 different types of muscle cell. Now, this is a picture of an arm, and we have 2 different muscles here. We have a bicep and a tricep. And the top picture, right here, this is of a straight arm. So these 2 muscles will be doing different things. Right here, this muscle here is called the tricep. Do that again. This muscle here is called the tricep. This muscle here is called the bicep. There we go. So in this situation, the bicep is stretched. Oops, is stretched. Tricep is flexed. However, here it's the opposite. Here the muscles are working in the other direction. So flexed, stretched. So that means that effectively a muscle cell, when it's flexed, it could be looking like this. Short and wider because it's contracted, it's flexing. Whereas when it's stretched, it's looking more like this. So for example here, these muscles in these situations, they are stretched. Whereas these muscles here, they are flexed. So they can actually change shape. But also inside the arm and in the digestive system, as shown below, we have some different type of muscle. And I'm going to do them in different colors. This is the vascular system, which of course is made up of veins and arteries. And the veins and the arteries, the tubes that carry your blood, are made up of a different type of muscle. Still made of muscle cells, but they work in a different way. The same as down here we have, for example, the stomach, which is this one. Here we have the large and small intestines. Now all these are 4 different things. We've got the red is the arteries, the blue are the veins, stomach, large and small intestine, all of them are made up of smooth muscle, as opposed to the muscles we've seen here, which are made up of skeletal muscle. Of course, the skeletal muscle is attached to the skeleton. If we could see bones inside here, I'll just do a very basic drawing. There's more bones in this, of course. But the bones here, the muscle, would actually be attached to the bones. Okay, it's attached to your skeleton, which is why it's called skeletal. Now, red blood cells, these have a special job, and that is, of course, to carry oxygen. Now, they do this job very well, mostly because of their shape. They are disc-shaped, and actually they are almost hollowed out in the middle, which is this line just here. That's trying to make it look like it's hollow. Not quite hollow, but kind of disc-shaped, and got some concave shape there as well. That is to increase the surface area. Okay, but most importantly, their special job is to carry oxygen. Now, these are supposed to be skin cells. These look very different, and you see how they slot together very easily, but they are flat. This is because it helps them to cover a large area, and their job is to protect the body, I guess, to protect the body. So they are protecting the veins, the muscle, the other cells which would be underneath them. Okay, so that's their job. They're large, they're flat, they cover a large area, and they are there to protect. Now, these are nerve cells. This is a nerve cell. And, of course, the nerve cell, its job is to carry messages. So, for example, we have the nerve cell would be connected here to another nerve cell. Maybe even this looks like it's connected to 4 different nerve cells. So what happened? Your brain says something needs to happen. Then the message, really quickly, would flow down the nerve cell to a muscle or another nerve cell. Actually, that's not been drawn very accurately. I haven't forgot to draw in the sheath which goes on there. Okay, but anyway, the message travels along the nerve cells. It carries messages, and that's of course why they are very long to carry messages. They can even be, for example, a whole meter in humans, and even longer in, say, a big animal like, for example, a blue whale or a giraffe or something like that. Now, inside our throat is here, windpipe goes down here, and even, I haven't drawn it in, but from the nose down to the windpipe in the throat, there are some special cells which look a little bit like this. And these cells, they of course have their nucleus as well. These cells have this part just here, and these are called cilia. They're like hairs. They're not hair, but they're like hairs. And what they do, all the way down here, tiny little hairs on each cell. And so if you breathe in any dust or moisture, any dirt, anything like that, they get trapped in the cilia. And then the cilia can actually move upwards. So then when the cilia are moving upwards, they can actually direct these little tiny pieces of dirt or liquid out of the windpipe and into another tube which would head to the stomach. therefore stopping any dust getting into these very important organs, your lungs. So they have an extremely important job. Almost like filters. I'm back, that was my doorbell. Okay, so the cilia hairs and these particular filter-like cells, they stop dirt or moisture from entering the lungs. Very important job. Then, oh, too far. We have egg cells. Now, an egg cell, I haven't drawn it that big, but the egg cell is the biggest cell in the human body, but also other animal bodies as well. And we have, of course, inside the nucleus, but the main job of, or one of the jobs of the egg cell is to contain food. Because the cell needs to be able to grow, multiply into more cells to create the embryo, the fetus, the baby. So it's so big because it contains food to allow the cells to multiply. When it multiplies, that means it's joined with a sperm cell and it's creating a baby. Now we're looking at, got a few different cells here. We're looking at the shape and the form of the cells. So this first one here is a muscle cell. And muscle cells are long and thin. Now it doesn't look like it here, but it's long and thin because it needs to be able to stretch. It needs to be able to stretch, but also flex. So they're long and thin so that they can change shape. They're flexible, so when you move a muscle, it can change shape. This one, the spherical cell, this is an egg cell. It's spherical so that it can contain a lot of food. That is its main job. Of course, it also contains the DNA from the mother, but it's the shape so that it can contain a lot of food. These are red blood cells. I haven't colored it this time, but this is a red blood cell, and it is disc-shaped. We talked about this earlier. It's disc-shaped to increase the surface area. And the increase in surface area means it can carry and be exposed to more oxygen. And finally we have, oh, not finally, sorry, penultimately we have the nerve cell. Now, I would also describe this as long and thin, but it's also, this shape here is important. This is a star shape. Now this is because they would also, in this direction coming out here, maybe here, and here, and here, even up here, it's star shaped to be able to connect to other nerve cells, or possibly to the muscle cells to tell that message that's coming from the brain to act. So it's star-shaped to connect to other cells. And finally, we have this cell. These are lining cells. And this could be, for example, a skin cell. Very, very similar to the epidermal cells in a plant. And like we've already said, it's flat to cover a large surface area. Because it is protecting everything that's underneath, so protecting the muscles, veins, etc., everything that's underneath. And that's it.